I recently came across this article online where Clarkson's Farm, the Amazon series, is credited with improving the sales of an online food retailer in the UK. It seems like Mr. Clarkson cannot go anywhere without having an impact on society. In the same week as the article, he was also named the UK's sexiest man alive, which is an encouraging sign for those of us on the other side of 50. So the online retailer Ocado announced that sales of its meat, fish, fruit, and vegetables from its best of British aisle jumped significantly week on week since the series returned to screens in the beginning of May. So what's the deal here? How does a TV series impact the sales of an online retailer? After thinking about it for a little bit, I realized that Clarkson's Farm is a kind of a metaphor for British farming. It shows people how difficult it is sometimes to eke out a living while battling nature, rising input costs, and all sorts of other hazards and risks that the normal person in the city that's earning a salary is not necessarily aware of. So these stories connect people to a part of their culture that may have been lost to some, which is a beautiful illustration of the power of good storytelling. As an online retailer, Ocado sells the products of various British supermarket chains. Here are some of the increases in sales that I experienced when the series returned to Amazon. In Series 3, Mr. Clarkson starts farming lion's mane mushrooms. At the same time, Ocado data shows searches for lion's mane mushrooms have increased by 482%. There's no doubt that the story that's being told on Amazon Prime has an impact on British supermarket sales, which is probably best captured by Martha Springham, a produce trading manager with Ocado, who said, "Programs like Clarkson's Farm show consumers just how hard British farmers work, so it's brilliant to see our customers supporting them." Which brings us to this funnel where we can draw a direct correlation between what people saw on Clarkson's Farm, how it made them think about British farming, and how it made them change their buying behavior when shopping for food. And that's the power of social selling, is when you are able to change people's minds about the way they think about your product or your service without trying to sell them the service. As far as I know, Clarkson's Farm or Mr. Clarkson do not have any direct benefit from the sales being made on Ocado's website, but through what they've shown British consumers, they've had a massive impact on the company's fortunes. And that's the best kind of marketing that you can hope for. If you can get people to change their minds voluntarily and they then act from their own conviction, you've probably made a customer for life. If we think about it, a pork chop is a commodity, and most of us probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about why we're buying a pork chop. The thinking is probably mostly around those kind of ideas. It's commoditized. What is the best price I can get it, and where can I get it quickly? In this case, people have changed their thinking about a pork chop, and they're now making a buying decision because they feel inspired to support British farming. That is a huge mind shift for a simple commodity like a pork chop. So if you think about your product or service, what are you doing to create the kind of content that inspires your customers to think differently about your category? A lot of marketing aims at the bottom of the funnel, and it tries to just get the product or the service in front of the person and get them to buy. But as this idea of social selling around this Clarkson Farm phenomenon shows, you have a lot more leverage if you're able to influence buying behavior at the thinking level, not at the action level. So I would encourage you to go and find those things in your niche that could be inspiring for people, that could teach and educate people and get them to start thinking differently about your product. In that way, you are elevating your product or service out of commodity level, and it becomes a special offer in its own class. And that's where you want to be. You want to be competing in a space where there's an offer of one, where there's no other offer in the market that can compete with yours. Please let me know what you think about this idea of Clarkson's Farm and social selling and the impact that it's having about how we think of products.